Hey there, beautiful people. This is Gina Robinson, and you are listening to the Renew Podcast. You are in the right place and always welcome here. Well, welcome back, ladies, to the Renew Podcast. I'm Gina Robinson, and Pastor Lauren's here with me, as always.
Yes.
We always have fun talking about different topics and people's stories and their lives. One of the things that you've heard me say often is stories are verbal acts of hospitality. And so we've got a guest with us today, Ashley Piner. Ashley, welcome to the Renew Podcast.
Thanks for having me today. I'm super excited.
We are excited because not only do we love Ashley, but one of the things that she does in her career is she's an educator in the Pitt County schools. Summer is upon us, and I think that was one of the hardest times, Ashley. I remember when my kids were young, growing up and navigating just summers in general. And there's so many things you can do, but just to offer some encouragement to parents. So we'll get to that in a minute, but I want to tell people a little bit about you. She has been teaching for 17 years. Is that correct?
That's correct.
In 5 different counties.
5 different schools.
5 different schools.
In over 3 counties.
Over 3
Yes,
counties. And it's elementary education.
Yes, ma'am.
She's actually in a new position right now. I'm not even going to try and say the title because I failed miserably earlier. So I'm going to let her tell you about that in just a minute. But you're a mom.
Yeah.
And you're also a stepmom.
Yes.
And I have just watched you over the past couple of years navigate that season and the sweetness of your marriage. And it's just a testimony of what you and Rex and your family have walked through. And I just think it's beautiful. She is one of our Dream Team members. So if you've walked in the lobby at Open Door Church, you've probably seen her helping families over to the kids building and different places on concierge. I remember, Ashley, that when I first met you, one thing that just radiated about you is your smile and your genuineness and your kindness. And I approached you about leading a small group. Yes, I will ask you to lead a small group. But we met, we were in the Dream Team room, and the one thing that you said is, and this is before you led the adult small group, you're like, I don't know if I can do that because I minister to kids all the time.
I like the little people,
and
they are my people.
She loves little people, and even that's what I want to let you talk about today is your faith and your testimony of faith, because really, even in ministering to children prior to Open Door, the Lord it's just been kind of stepping stones.
Yes.
And guys, she does lead adult small groups. But I just think it was funny. You're like, I can't do that.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about kind of how you grew up and kind of where you are now.
Perfect. So I was very blessed because I grew up in a Christian home. My parents always made church a priority, prayer a priority, and just my relationship with Christ a priority. So as I was reflecting, I was thinking there was never a time that I did not know God. And I'm so thankful for that. There have been steps along my journey that I've had to grow in my faith, but I'm just very thankful that I've always felt his presence in my life. I grew up right here in Winterville since I was 5 years old and grew up in the same church, actually, from 5 to about 30. Wow. So my family started coming to Open Door during COVID. And
crazy. I didn't know that.
Yes. So my stepchildren, like you said, I have 2 stepchildren. They came with their mom and their stepdad. And so we wanted some consistency for the kids within church. And I was like, well, try it out, see if it fits for us. And from the first time that I walked in, I just felt at home. And I say that to so many people, but it felt like I was at home in this great big new building. So I just loved that feeling. And we've been here ever since. And not too long after we started attending, you approached me about small groups, and I just needed a minute from where I not walked away, I hate to use that term. I needed to grow in another place. So we started coming to this church. But I just needed a minute to deepen my relationship with the Lord, get back connected, and kind of fill my cup some. And whenever you asked me about small groups, I said, I just felt like I needed a year to be here. And I asked you when the small group started, and I think you said March. And that was exactly 1 year from whenever we started coming. So that was like my confirmation from the Lord that, yes, this is what I need to do. And we started that small group. So that was amazing. Just a little bit more about me. I did go to ECU. And started elementary education. That's what I got my degree in, with a concentration in English as a second language. I thought that I was going to be an ESL teacher.
Really?
I did. That was my passion. I had gone to Mexico many summers on mission trips, and that was just the pull of my heart. I thought that I was going to be an ESL teacher. And I ended up in kindergarten. And I've taught about 14 years of kindergarten.
Wow.
First grades and second grades. And then I started becoming a reading teacher. And now I'm an elementary literacy specialist for grades K through 5th. And that is just my dream job. I love that. Wow. But I love how God kind of had a hand, or he did have a hand in every step of the way, because now many people that I work with my job are limited English speakers. So it's just amazing to me how things work out and you don't even realize it.
Yeah.
So
the whole journey with like where you are now in your job you do now. Tell us a little bit about what you do now as a literacy specialist. Mm-hmm. And also, I think many people, I think there's a little bit of misconception in our jobs working in ministry. I think they just think, oh, they're just in this little protected environment and everything goes just so. But I also think that people like you that work in the secular workplace, you using your faith and walking in that, some people can have misconceptions about that. Like, I'm not able to really express my faith. I'm not really able to walk in it like I want to and get discouraged. But I've seen you do differently, and not that anything's perfect about it, but I think that you're able to use your faith. I've seen you use your faith. And where many of us kind of, withdraw back from social media and sharing things, you've been able to do that in a way that's been positive. And anyway, so I wanted to maybe give you an opportunity to encourage others, like other teachers, yes, other people in the secular workplace that may feel discouraged in that part and aren't able to share their faith or feel like they can.
Yes. So I love teaching, first and foremost, but above all of that, I love loving people. Like, that is, I just want to love as many people as I can. And sometimes that is difficult for students who come in with so much baggage. They come up with their walls built. They come to school with, they might not have had breakfast. They might not have been able to sleep last night. Mm-hmm. They just come with a lot of baggage, and just to be somebody at school that they can know that they'll get a smile from, that they know that they can come, they don't have to perform, they just have to be themselves, and somebody will love them. And that has just been my passion from the very beginning, to love people where they are. For students and for staff, because we as grown-ups bring stuff too. So I've just always tried to be a light wherever I am, and I'm going to have fun wherever I am. So I'm going to have fun. Some of the things that we do, I buy inflatable costumes and I wear them as I direct traffic in the car rider line.
And that's not something that you were asked to do. This was just your idea.
Yes, ma'am. Much to the embarrassment of my child. She started middle school this year, and there were a lot of eye rolls in the beginning. And
well, you're going to give that anyway. You're also enjoying it.
Probably around Thanksgiving, she said, I'm just going to accept my fate. I said, what? I was kind of confused because out of the blue, I wasn't even dressed up that day. And I said, I'm going to need a little bit more context. And she said, you're just going to dress up and people like it. And so if you make people smile, that's a good thing. And so that was kind of her blessing to me. Sweet. I'm going to embarrass her, but she is just going to accept it.
I love it.
But just being there for others, I want people to know that I'm there. And I like to share my ideas because I like to learn from others. So I share, we have something called PLCs at school, which is professional learning communities. And I love that because grade levels get together and share ideas and look at data. And it's just a good way to learn and grow from each other. Well, I just value that learning from others, and I want to be that for somebody that might not have that idea. So I share a lot on Facebook, school ideas, faith walks through my journey. I've had some things that I've had to grow through, and if I can help somebody else with my story, I feel like that's what we're called to do.
Yeah.
So, and through the Christian lens, I would love to provide that Christian perspective for people who may be Christian and who may not be.
Yeah.
So,
are you, being in your position, and you get to go to different classrooms, don't you? Which gets you kind of in and out of the classroom, and you get to meet a lot of different people. Some of the things and I know you get to also deal with parents, and we can be difficult at times. And so I think, my heart, I really, now that my kids are 27 and 25, I look back and I would definitely do some things differently. What can you say today that maybe would encourage moms out there that are in the season of it is, and things are different even when I raised mine in elementary school and middle school. Some things that you maybe have instilled, whether it's a rhythm in the classroom or a rhythm in your home that you have seen that's helped, that can encourage.
Yes. So I do work with K-5 students, so it's a broad range, but they're all the same. They all need the same things. I encourage 15 to 20 minutes of reading a day. If it's a graphic novel, if it is fiction, nonfiction, find something that your children love and just let them read. Vocabulary is huge. Just having those conversations, using higher order thinking skills and words. We've just finished EOGs last week, and vocabulary is something that students struggle with. So just really using as much and enriching vocabulary as you can with students, and just asking about their day. I don't know, whenever we have dinner time is like a precious time in our house. I do whatever I can. I like to cook. So we cook and we have dinner together when we're all together. And they have to tell us 3 good things that happened during the day. Just keeping those lines of conversation open are so important.
Do you get the eye rolls with that sometimes? Let's just be real. Yes. Middle schoolers are like, do we really have to talk about this?
And we have a 6th grader, an 8th grader, and a 10th grader. So it's a new
You're in
it's a new season.
You're in the trenches.
We are in the trenches. And I talked to my husband, Rex. It's a lot about how you ask questions. So not, did you have a good day? Because you're going to get a yes or no, fine.
Yes.
Not, what did you do at school today? Nothing. That drives me crazy as an educator because I know how much planning and preparation teachers go to things. And so when they come home and say nothing, I'm like, no. What did you learn in math today? What topics? What skills? So just focusing on how you're asking questions is very important, I believe.
Yeah, I totally I know. It's crazy as a parent is to think about at every season as your child grows, you really have to navigate that piece is not what you're asking, but how you're asking it, and timing.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yes.
Don't you think, Lauren?
100%. I learned that pretty early on with one of my kids, just realizing, and thinking of myself, being somewhat more of an introvert, and if you're in a school environment all day and you're around people all day long, the last thing you want to do when your mom picks you up is answer more questions.
Yes.
But it didn't even dawn on me until a few years into it, because I would get all the same answers. It was like he would get to, and I forgot, I saw something funny on Instagram one time, and it was like the kid that's giving everybody high fives in the line, and they're all like happy, and then they get in the car and they're like this. And I'm like, what? I'm just picking you up. And they just shut down. And I, would try to like force conversation. And then I just figured it out. I was like, this is not working. And I'm going to just say, hey, bud, drive him home. And then around dinner time or later on in the day, I would begin to, try to get some of that information and keep those lines of communication. And then I have another kid who's just like gets in the car and is and I'm like, I might need a minute. So I think, you hit the nail on the head. I think learning your child, and it not being what you can get out of them, but it being more like, how can I just keep the conversation going, and it being a conversation and not just a dictatorship of tell me about this and I want to know about this, and
instead of it being like a drill, right? Yeah. I think moms, and even in our jobs, sometimes we get so task driven on what we got to get done that we do want to know how their day was. But really, in the back of my mind, on some days I can remember asking that question, going, oh God, I hope everything was okay. I hope everything, because that is, you're going to have to deal with that,
Don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah. Depending on the day, and really what they're dealing with, whether it's activities they're doing or within the classroom, their self-confidence, academics, and all those type of things. One thing actually I was going to ask you is that through your role as a mom, but a stepmom, and blending of your family, I know challenges come with that, and like working through that. Obviously, you're probably going to say communication is key.
Yes. Communication is key with all of the parties involved.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say is we have, which I think is awesome, we have lots of blended families at Open Door. And I believe that a lot of times, we don't talk about that enough as like how to navigate things, because there's going to be hard transitions, and we all have our own preferences and ideas and things like that. But what are some things that you could offer up as far as in your role that you've seen that have helped with you and Rex, just on this is part of your story and your journey?
Yes. So he and I have appreciated the vulnerability between the two of us from the very beginning of our relationship, because divorce is hard.
Yeah,
divorce is hard, and you have to navigate that, and then to start a new relationship and bring children into it, and then there's other people who will always be involved, and they need to be, because they're either the parents of your children or the other parents of your stepchildren, and just having that vulnerability and communication, and just coming in with positive intent. I think that's hard sometimes, because you're ready to respond. You're ready to have opposition, but that's not always the case. So positive intent before you even enter a conversation, and just having the children are the number one thing between you, and they should always be put first. So I love whenever I see like blended families at church, because they get to see their other parent, and that's always special whenever it's not your time to see your children and be able to be an active part of all of their lives. But the communication is important, and just prayer. I've had to pray through so many situations, and sometimes that's the only thing, because you can't there might not be something that I personally can fix.
It's like out of your control.
It is out of your control. So prayer and communication and just always putting your children first.
That's awesome. There was one thing you mentioned on the phone, and it wasn't so, but I can't get it out of my head, but just because I thought it was sweet. Because of your story and the redemption of that and walking this season out, it's one of the things that you had said that when you met Rex, that you was very special to you. Can you remember you told me?
Goodness. I don't remember.
It had to do with reading. It had to do with reading.
Yes. So he does so many good things. He's too good to me, but that's a whole nother story. He read devotions with his children every night. And that was so special to me that he carved out that time that when, because it's chaos in your life in that moment, when things are going on and trying to navigate divorce and separation, and the fact that he made that a priority in his life and his children's lives that was so special to me, because he has instilled that in their lives the whole way through.
That's awesome.
So,
I know.
And now they'll both be in high school next year. And so we have planted those seeds, we have instilled that, and now it's their decision on what they do.
Well, I just, we hold on to the fact that the word is never void, and that planting, it's, those roots can grow if we're doing a perfect job, but we're relying on the one that can lead us through all these different seasons. With being an educator, and just in your home and different things, you said you like to have fun. So we all know about the inflatable thing. I mean, guys, if you have not seen it, go. It's at Chicago, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, but you did it at Ridgewood, too.
I did it at Ridgewood. I truly like to make learning immersible, like hands-on, engaged interactions. I do room transformations. So this year I've done Piner's Pizzeria and Pasta. And so I taught fractions and punctuation with pizza and pasta. And I make hats for the kids, and we dress up, and we did a narrative an informational writing, and we made pizza Lunchables, and they had to write step by step. This was in first grade. We had to write step by step on how they executed their pizza and then how they enjoyed it. So just making it as hands-on as much as possible.
That's awesome.
And it is. One of the things I've seen, and I think moms compare themselves to others. Like, well, they do this, and they're so good at this, and we don't do this. I remember when I was raising my kids, whether it was elementary or middle school, it was always important to pray before school but I want to encourage moms out there and dads, if you happen to be listening, is that it doesn't matter when, just long as you do.
Yes.
And I think that's just with our own time with the Lord and things, is that we know what's important, but timing is everything. So sometimes it was in the car.
Yep.
And that was really best ministry time with boys. I don't know about girls, but I mean, you can lock the doors, and so during seasons like middle school and things like that, when you're going to and fro to the baseball field, Lauren,
every day. We were just there last night.
but finding, so you just reminded me that was one of the things that was attractive to you as Rex as a father, is that he made that a priority.
Yes.
I just don't think we need to get caught up in all the details of it and letting the Lord define that for our families, but it takes communication. But you do some really fun things too, like with holidays and stuff
too.
And I mean, in the summer, we've got moms that are working outside the home, in the home, maybe some working remote. Kids are spending more time by themselves because they may be old enough to be at home.
Right.
And that was one of the things that was a burden in my heart. I was like, okay, they're at home, they're old enough, they do not need a babysitter. How do you keep your teenage kids busy when they do have more downtime? even though they're involved in things. Can you encourage parents in that way, some things that maybe you guys do?
Oh, goodness. So we are in a new season. Our oldest gets his license tomorrow, hopefully. So we just do a lot of outside activities. I'm very thankful that my children love to play outside. We are kind of like the central location in the neighborhood for the basketball courts, and we do a lot of outside activities. Our girls, we try to encourage them. We have sidewalks in front of our house.
Yeah.
And so they're kind of old for sidewalk chalk, but they do obstacle courses for other little kids in our neighborhood. So they'll draw and do obstacle courses. The reading is a big thing. I do try to get them to read over the summertime. They do not enjoy that.
Did y'all hear that, Mom? Her kids don't enjoy it either.
They do not. But it's I am going to throw this in there because there is the summer slide, and that is a true thing. So if you do not read over the summer, you can fall back behind. And research has proven that you can improve proficiency in reading just by reading over the summer, 15 to 20 minutes a day. So
that's encouraging, though. I mean, because 15 to 20, I mean, it's like, you're investing that time. That's not a lot to ask, right?
No.
I remember my kids did not want to do the reading. Lauren, do your kids enjoy reading?
My oldest did not at all. My youngest does. And so, funny enough, we were in here. I had another meeting, and we're in that in between where David is out of school, but it's just he and I, and just trying to figure out with him, what to do for the last little few minutes. And I had given him, I can't think of the right words. I'm losing my words today. Anyways, long story short, I was trying to figure out what to do with him. And he came up to me and he was like, Mom, he said, I know this. It had something to do with technology. Mom, I know, I was going to use this, but my charger didn't work. And I looked, and he's reading one of these little books over here. And I was like,
so great.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it just was so surprising to me because I don't expect him to read unless he has to read. And it's not that I have to force him all the time. It's just more of he knows the routine. We do homework, he reads, we check it off the list. And so when he was in here and just trying to kill time in between meetings, and his iPad or Amazon Fire tablet was dead, and I came in and he was reading, I was stunned. And I was like, wow, okay. He's like, well, I just thought it would be a good book. So my oldest, not so much. And I think you spoke to this earlier. It's one of those things where if you can find something that they enjoy, I feel like you'll get farther.
Yes.
But with David, I think his little creative mind, he just enjoys it. So every kid's unique in that way.
Even if it is a sports
something.
Stats.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That is reading facts about baseball players or football players, or just or having them write about it. Just to keep them in that practice and routine of things.
Well, do you have a question?
Yeah.
But now's a good time to ask. I think one of the things that can be challenging when you have, and this is whether you're vocational ministry or not vocational ministry, because I love hearing your heart for students and just your passion. And I think being in ministry, like I said, vocationally or not vocationally, sometimes it can be challenging to see and experience things because there are, and you mentioned this earlier, there's kids that haven't eaten breakfast. There's very not ideal situations that you experience with children, and seeing those things, experiencing those things, how do you process and how do you not always carry those things home? And I think that's the hard part about loving people so much and having such a passion for what you do because you care so much. So it's not like you can just turn off your heart. You can't always compartmentalize, well, now that I'm not there, I'm just not going to care about it anymore. But in your experiences, and I don't want to, make assumptions, but I would think that would take a tremendous amount of just downloading with the Lord of gosh, this was really heavy today and this is really hard, but how do you navigate those situations when you do care so much.
That is something that I'm still working through. I'm going to be honest, because I do carry a lot and I am a fixer and there are just some things that can't be fixed. So I work very hard on, this sounds silly, but I'm in the car rider line. I put the numbers in for our school's dismissal system, and I use that time to just kind of pray and decompress and go through what has happened that day, because as soon as I'm finished with car riders, I have my family.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I try to use that time strategically to go through things. They're always in the back of my mind and on my heart. And so I pray a lot at night. And just, there was a season in my life where I was not able to separate the two. And it took a toll on my heart because it's just heavy sometimes what some of these kids have to go through. So that's something that I'm still navigating, but I do try to use my time wisely. I have about 30 minutes during every day that's what I do. I pray over the kids. I pray for the kids as I see their name, as I'm putting them in the car rider line. And just when I see them in the morning, the next morning, I want to be that positive. How are you? I ask about their families, and just try to meet them where they are. And it's good to talk to their other teachers too. And there have been times that I've reached out to families also just to say, hey, so-and-so has expressed this. Is there anything that I can do to help you? And I will say, I asked them, I have prayed for parents in parent conferences, and I have prayed with people, and it is difficult to navigate.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that we have to do as educators, and or not just as educators, but people who work with the public and have those consistent relationships is something we all have to work.
It's a really good question you asked, though, because that
Well, I think having educators as friends, and then also being on the other side of that, and having different teachers along the way with both of my boys. And we've had all great teachers, and you can just tell, like, there have been some times where I've had a teacher text me, and especially in the season when Wesley was in kindergarten, and that was when David was born, and he was having all these health issues, and we were in and out of the hospital, and Wesley was staying with either my mom or Aaron's mom or another friend. And so trying to navigate that, and it being his kindergarten year, and one of the teachers here, Treva, she was just so good about, you could just tell she loved Wesley almost like it was us. And so it began to, I guess, dawn on me of like, gosh, these teachers really do love these students. And it's not just a task.
Yes.
And just seeing and being the beneficiary of having teachers who have loved our kids so well, it's something that you can't just turn off.
The end of the year is very hard for me because you are releasing
sending them off.
Yes. And it is hard because when I was a classroom teacher, you build this little family within your room.
Yeah.
And then it is sending your children off, and that can be very difficult.
Yeah.
But just praying over them. And again, COVID was a hard time for educators, and that was a hard time for me because there was no cutoff.
Yeah.
We were kind of open 24/7 because in public schools, students could turn in things. You had 24 hours to turn things in, and we did. I tried to be available when parents were available when they were helping their children. But that helped me set boundaries, too, that has made me be a better educator and a better parent and mother and wife and friend, to kind of set some boundaries to say, this is this time, and then this is my other time.
Yeah, I love that.
I do, too. And while Lauren was talking and you were talking, I was like, yep. Boundaries. There we go. Back to the running theme. I mean, and those are things that we can be in control of. Like, we can set boundaries Obviously, if it's our job, there's things that we are responsible for, but just time management, stewardship. I mean, most of the time we're going to do things that we don't like to do last in the day. But we all know that it should go first because we need to get that done, or making the phone call we don't want to make, or, those type of things. I've been in those situations where, because I know how heavily and emotionally you have to be in it, and you care, like you said, so much about people and not take it at home. Gosh, we could talk forever. But one thing I wanted to say is you're a helper by nature. And you said you like to fix things. I think a lot of people like to fix things, and moms get frustrated when they can't fix things. Yes. So I think, I would my heart for parents in this season, and if we're running in the summer, is to set boundaries in your own family and create rhythms that are attainable and not unrealistic or comparing those to others. Ladies, one of the reasons why I had Ashley on is not because all of you out there are educators, but because I've seen her walk positive through some things that have been hard. And just being a light in different situations and being creative with it, like thinking outside the box is whatever. And really, your foundation of growing up means everything. Yes. And I want to encourage parents in that is foundation matters, because it's been, you've seen the benefits in your life and in your family and all through that. I do want to say to teachers out there, there is nothing like you guys. No. I went to school for elementary ed. I taught a few years. EBA Cox did reading remediation, and I would say, don't shoot me, but middle school is my favorite. Yep.
There's a group for everyone.
It is. I do love them. I don't know. They're so needy, I think. But there's this thing of like, they still want to be loved, but they're going through one of the most difficult times of their lives. And we all remember what middle school was like. So anyway, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Thank you for everything you do here. Guys, I do want to say, if you have a question for Ashley and you're a mom out there, maybe you're an educator and you have just things on your heart that you want to share or questions, if you will email Pastor Lauren and I at renew@opendoorchurch.com, we'll get that to Ashley, and that way she can answer any questions you may have. And we can't wait to see you next time.